Welcome to What's Next with Eric Wood, where we will prepare you to make your what's next in life your best yet. Our next guest is Justin Nottke, and Justin is the director of digital design at Homage, the hottest clothing line in the country right now. We will hear about his story, as well as the story of Homage and where they see themselves going as a company. If you haven't already, please rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast wherever you tune in weekly. And also, if you haven't already, go to Amazon and order my book, Tackle What's Next, and the link to that is in the show notes. Thanks and enjoy. Justin, welcome to the podcast, brother.
Wow. Hey, great. Thanks for that introduction, Eric. I'm going to have to get an audio clip from you saying the hottest clothing company in the country, because we're going to use that. We're going to use that all over the place. That's great.
I mean, and honestly, I mean it, and we'll get to that here in
Yeah.
a second. And I don't know the financials. I'm not a part of the company, but what I see around the country, what I see at sporting events, I call Bills games every week. What I see is a growing brand that is just on fire right now. But we're going to start off talking about you and your story. So tell me about your career journey up
Yeah.
into this point that led you to the team at Homage.
Yeah. So I went to Bowling Green State University, the mighty Falcons, for those that know that are fans of the MAC. Yeah, went to Bowling Green. Actually, it was like a journalism major to start out. And it really wasn't the career that I was kind of looking for, not in a creative sense. And so I switched over, kind of moved back home, went to like a kind of satellite campus and studied visual communication. So, some of my closest friends are from college. We had just a great bond, and we all were just, working in graphic design. We were working in video, web design, photography, and there's just a great nucleus of creative people that came out of there. Like I said, still friends with. The program that I was a part of, you had to have internships. And so I bopped around a couple different places, did an internship in Cleveland, another one more locally. Then I did an internship in Chicago, ended up moving out to Chicago for quite a while, thinking that I would probably live there. It's a great city. I still love it to this day. But then all of a sudden, I was shown this brand Homage. And this was probably around like 2012, I want to say, somewhere around there, 2012. So probably about 5 years into the company's existence. And the shirt that got me was a D Brown Slam Dunk
Nice.
1991 championship shirt. And when I was growing up, I had a D Brown poster on the back of my door in my bedroom. And there was one of those little plastic hoops that you will dunk, you dunk on. And there's like a photo of me, dunking on it, all that. And so I just couldn't believe that there was a t-shirt company that was producing something now to pay tribute to this like really unique moment. And I was like, I gotta have this t-shirt. And then you kind of go down this, rabbit hole, and it's like, okay, they've got colleges, they've got Bowling Green stuff. Oh, this is, great. And at that time, I wasn't seeing a whole lot of other brands really harness those vintage graphics, harnessing the nostalgia. And I was like, man, this would be a really cool place to work, like in my previous like career and positions. It was always enjoyable, but I never felt like I was as passionate as I am with the work that I'm doing at Homage now. So a job came up maybe a couple of years after I had been a fan and been following them on social media, getting their emails. A job came up, and I'll tell people it pulled me back to Ohio. I think my parents are happy that it brought me back to Ohio, but it feels really good. And I know we'll get into kind of the story of it, but it feels really good to come back home and be a part of a company that started where I'm from, and a lot of people that work are from. And there's a lot of like pride to it, starting from, humble beginnings to where we are now.
That's really cool. Let's get to those humble beginnings. How did Homage originally get going?
Yeah. So the founder and the founder of the company, Ryan Vessler, basically, started the company in his parents' basement in 2007. You know, Ryan, he went to Ohio University, which is just a little bit south here of Columbus. And if I remember correctly, you know, probably what will happen is he'll listen to this podcast and he'll let me know the notes that I got like wrong. But I think it really started with him like buying and selling vintage items on eBay first, like finding cool stuff in Goodwill, you know, getting inspired by it, and then realizing that there wasn't really a market or a lot of like major companies that were kind of harnessing these cool stories, these old graphics that, you know, were printed in the 70s or the 80s, and you couldn't really get your hands on them unless you know, were shopping on eBay. And so he moved back home to Columbus, started putting, you know, pen to paper, ink to t-shirts, so to speak, and, you know, was going to local businesses in Columbus to try and get them to sell his shirts. Like there's a place called Soul Classics that's a t-shirt or a sneaker store here in downtown Columbus, has been here for a long time. And I know that he would, you know, go there and try to sell the t-shirts to like their audience. And then it just started to kind of like grow and grow from there, bringing on more people, getting in licenses, and, you know, to the point that we're at today. But yeah, we'll say, you know, it started in his parents' basement.
Wow, that's awesome. And so many people would look at where Homage is now and say, man, they had a really fast rise because, you know, lately of the traction and all the licenses that you guys have had. So you hit so many more markets, but it's amazing how many overnight successes were really a 15 to 10-year journey. And so really cool to hear that it started that way, started organically, and then has grown to what it has now. How hard is it to get those licenses? I mean, you talk about now the NFL, WWE, I mean,
Yeah.
all the major sports, colleges. How tough is it to obtain those licenses?
Yeah, this is an area that I had no idea about before I started here. You know, it's one of those things I think people kind of take for granted or don't really, you know the back end. But, you know, I've been fortunate to learn a lot of that here. And, you know, like the NFL one was not easy. It took years. Elliot May heads up our business development here. And it took a long time for us to get to the level where we were, you know, able to work with the NFL. But, you know, it kind of started out small. Like I said, you know, it was working with, you know, colleges, some like colleges like Mac, you know what I mean? Like I was saying, Bowling Green or Miami, OU. And then you just start to kind of like build from there, right? You know, you're saying to these larger universities like Ohio State is still, you can see behind me. For those that can't see, I'm in a room with a bunch of Ohio State memorabilia around me. But that has been a huge part of our business, being based in Columbus, Ohio, getting that license. And then we're talking, you know, a huge university with a lot of representation across the country. And then it still, you know, starts to build from there. And you start to move into like those major league licenses, right? Like the first one that we got was the NBA. And then took a little bit of time after that came MLB, and then, you know, finally NFL, which has just put us on a trajectory that I don't think anyone was really expecting. But, you know more than anybody else how real the NFL fandom is.
Yeah, it is. It is absolutely serious.
Yeah.
And I don't know the official ins and outs, but I do know how difficult it is to get licensing with the NFL, with the NFL Players Association, to be able to
Yeah.
use individual players, because otherwise you're going to each individual player. You're going to have to strike a deal with each individual
Yep.
agent, marketing agent, whatever it may be. So you
Yep.
have to go to the top. And I know that that can be extremely difficult.
Yeah.
When you look back at the history of Homage, what was the biggest needle mover, like
Oh,
that happened? Was it,
yeah.
I think okay, so I'll tell you what I think back to,
Yep.
and I know it's likely Ohio State in that kind of getting everything going
Yeah.
with the numbers there. But I think back to Aaron Rodgers and Josh Allen
Mm.
showing up to training camp, and that was unpaid as well, to my
Right.
knowledge.
Yeah.
Like
It
were
was.
those the big moments, or was there other ones that you can point to?
That one was huge. What's funny is it's all kind of based around like your experience and when you worked for the company. So I've been here 7 years. So somebody that's maybe been here 10 or 12 might have, another moment. But like the people that have worked here for the last, 3 or 4, they would definitely say that Aaron Rodgers and Josh Allen moment, because it's just like Aaron Rodgers is wearing a Kevin and Chili office jam shirt. Like,
Right.
it's just, there are moments like that are so surreal. That one is definitely up there. I would say for me, back when the Cavs won the championship in 2016, LeBron comes off the plane, and he's holding up the Larry O'Brien trophy, and he's got one of our Ultimate Warrior shirts on after they beat the Warriors, the three to
Yes.
coming back from 3-1. And so I just remember we were all in the office here, and I'd maybe been here about a year or so, and the energy was just like we couldn't like look on social media enough or see what articles were being written quickly, because everybody, it was like pandemonium here. Like, I can't believe LeBron wore it, because that was another example. Like you said, it was like that wasn't a paid thing. Like, somebody from his camp or shopped and purchased the Ultimate Warrior shirt, hoping that they would win the title. And then just the perfect mix of like having that like moment. So the Aaron Rodgers one is definitely up there. LeBron one is definitely up there. It's those moments that are just so surreal that they're like these, incredible athletes that are fans of our brand in a lot of ways, and willing to wear it in these like moments that they're going to remember, or, have for years to come.
So what separates Homage from the competition to where a LeBron would want to get off the plane in it, or an Aaron Rodgers, a Josh Allen wants to show up to training camp unpaid by it? Because there's many opportunities where they could get paid to wear someone's gear, and it would be completely inorganic, but you
Yeah.
guys have done it all organically for the most part.
Mhm.
What separates Homage?
I think a lot of it is built around that authenticity. I think, when we're even looking to hire people, bring them on the team, we want to make sure that, we're speaking to fans in a very authentic way, a unique way, even in a niche way, if it has to be, you know what I mean? Because I'm a huge wrestling fan. So whenever we're talking about WWE stuff, usually I'll be, brought into the conversations because they're like, Justin knows this stuff, like the ins and outs, the little details. And I think those little details matter no matter who you are, because like if you're a fan of WWE, whether it's just me or someone like you, a former NFL player, there are those little things that we're still going to remember. Like, oh my gosh, I remember when the Undertaker chokeslammed this person. And so we're going to celebrate that on a t-shirt. And so you and I would both go back to that moment and kind of have that same kind of like feeling of nostalgia, and you kind of harness that. So we always preach that authenticity and trying to connect people and tell the stories that really resonate with our fandom, whether it's wrestling or football or anything in pop culture, and we try to do that as well with our marketing. We're trying to recreate those scenes from favorite movies or TV shows. So we're trying to do it in our product. We're trying to do it in how we present it to customers too, to say like, hey, we're fans of the stuff that we're putting out. We're right there with you. We want to hear from people, understand what they want to see next, and then what they like, what they don't like. So it's all about that authenticity, the uniqueness, like I was talking about with the D Brown shirt. I can't believe, a company was putting out a D Brown slam dunk shirt in 1991.
Yeah, no doubt about it. What are the biggest challenges through this growth stage that you
Yeah.
guys have faced as a company?
Yeah, I think it's always kind of like personnel, making sure we've got enough people to, be here and, have the work, make sure we're consistent. And like I said, being authentic, making sure that we're bringing on the right people and having that same authentic message to our customers. Because, once that NFL business hit and we're working with people, affiliates and all that, we're bringing in all these new eyeballs to the company. And so it's just making sure that we're still being true to the principles and the values of what we started, why Ryan started this company. And just keeping up with everything, right? Because the more we're getting out there, the more product that people see, the more questions you get from customers. So like customer experience is getting more. We want to try and send more messaging out to customers about bigger releases more often. So there, I think, we've faced growing pains, but at the same time too, it still is a lot of fun. Even in being here 7 years, it's coming to work and still having a lot of fun with what the next challenge is.
Yeah, and that spirit of having fun comes through the work. I mean, the starter jackets and the releases around
Oh,
these
yeah.
NFL starter jackets, which for me, when I was growing up, like if you didn't have a starter jacket, you weren't cool. Like on the west side of Cincinnati, you were representing whatever team that you were the biggest fan of with a starter jacket to school every single day as soon as it was cold enough. And now you guys are bringing that back. It's very smart that you're bringing it back too, in the sense that all of us at that age now have enough money where we can purchase those ourselves and we'll be rocking them as well. So great business
Yeah.
decision as well. What's the end goal for Homage? Do you guys talk like, hey, we want to, because you have all the licenses now, is
Yeah.
it to just continue to grow, or are there markers out there that you guys are looking at?
Yeah, I think, different parts of the business have, their own goals that kind of still feed into a common one. But, I hadn't talked about it yet, but one of the most exciting things that we've seen in the last probably like 2 or 3 years is our wholesale business, where, we're growing and in a lot of the team shops. I think, someone from the wholesale team might correct me here, but I think we're in every major league baseball team shop. I'm almost positive about every NBA team shop and pretty close to NFL as well. And it's exciting to see from the buyers in those team shops too, because we get a lot of the same reactions of like, you guys are going to do, I mean, just like the Josh Allen caricature tee that you've got on right now. It's like, wow, you guys do this kind of style. And I think they get really excited. And so that has been just incredible to see that growth happen in the team stores, because, people are getting fed all different types of stuff on their phone through social media and ads. You might not see Homage, and your friends might not know about it. But if you're a fan of the Bills and you're going to the stadium and you're just like, wow, no one else is doing something like this with Josh Allen, or like NFL Jam, what's this company all about? So I think that's been a goal that's, we've been talking about for a while, to get into these team stores, make sure that fans that might not normally know of the brand are able to see it visibly in a great presentation. And so that's been a huge one. Definitely getting the NFL license has been a big goal for quite a while. So that, like, we're really happy about that, continuing to expand upon that. The starter jackets, like last year when we released them, that was the first time we released them for every team. Before that, it was usually like Browns, Bengals, mostly teams kind of regional. So having that last year, then following up again this year with more designs. So lots of different goals, but it's just been really exciting these last 2 years with how the NFL's developed and seeing where we can grow that audience.
Yeah, I bet that's been a ton of fun to be a part of. All right, one of my favorite designs of the shirts are the NBA Jam shirts. It's like a
Yeah.
player comparison. You have the attributes.
Yep.
Can we get some offensive linemen on those?
Yeah.
And I say
Yeah.
that I think they would hit because I think it would be funny. Like throw power,
Right.
none, but like blocking ability, or
Right.
you could the ability to get in the way,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So this is what we'll do, John. We'll have you, Eric, we'll have you be a part of a meeting to get some of those stats together, and some of the stats for the offensive linemen, to say like, all right, this is where I think this person is. Here's what the categories could be. Because we have fun putting those together. Like I was saying with WWE, I'll make up ridiculous ones, you know, for like a Shawn Michaels or a Diesel or whatever. So or, you know, like we were talking about earlier, the Office Jam with Kevin and Chili, like some of those categories are just way over the top. Where when we started NBA Jam, we kept it true to the video game.
Right.
Once we expanded it, we were like, sky's the limit in terms of what we could, you know, put for these people. So yeah, I think right now there's maybe only one or two that we have, but we should definitely expand those to cover some offensive linemen.
Right. Like the Josh Allen Diggs one, great.
Yep.
But you start having, and I bet those meetings are a ton of fun. And I'm going to digress a little bit, but like when you have a Michael Scott and it's like awareness zero, like that's
Yeah.
funny. Like I guarantee you guys are sitting in those meetings just like having a ton of fun, cracking up like, okay, well, what would be a good attribute that would be terrible in this
Right.
situation as opposed to
Yeah.
like, oh, here's all the positives here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like what can we do that's all the way, you know, to the bottom, that's like zero if this was a video game. Yeah. And like I was saying earlier, like usually we'll task people that are like very, you know, very big fans of The Office, that, you know, maybe these folks aren't usually in conversations in terms of like product or graphic design, but if we know that we've got an Office fan, or we know that we've got a Bills fan, Parks and Rec fan, we're going to task them with like, hey, what do you think would be funny for some of these categories for the jam tees?
Yeah, that's really smart. All right, I got a few recurring questions for you, and then we'll
Sure.
get you out of here, Justin. Are you a reader? And if so, what's your favorite book?
Oh gosh. You know what? I'm sure I don't know if you get this a lot, but I feel what happens with me is I will find books, whether it's on Amazon or where I'm ever shopping, and I'm like, this is great. Gonna get this book, gonna read it, and then it just goes on my bookshelf, and it just is more of like a nice piece to have and make it seem like I'm reading all of those things.
Right.
I'm a big wrestling fan. I've got a bunch of wrestling books. This is going to be so obscure and niche, but you let me know if anybody responds saying, "Oh my gosh, I've also read that." There's an old wrestler from like the 60s named Luthez, and he wrestled from like the 20s to the 60s, really well known, and he's got a memoir that he wrote that I just purchased called Hooker, which is like Hooker is kind of like amateur wrestling, like shoot style is what they would say, because he had a background in it. And so I've been starting to read that because I'm fascinated with the wrestling business from like the early 20s when it was a part of the carnival into like transitioning into national on cable television. So he was like a wrestler that was a part of a lot of that. And so that's pretty fascinating to me. But outside of that, wrestling, music, sports books too. I just got Phil Knight's book because I'm really interested in how Nike started. I was a distance runner, so I'm really interested in Bill Bowerman and Steve Prefontaine and the runners at Oregon. So like that, I'm really excited to get that going. Start reading the Phil Knight book. Yeah.
Okay, so a couple things there. One, Shoe Dog, Phil Knight's book, excellent.
Okay.
And for someone in your industry, you'll love it. I mean,
Great.
from him stacking books in an apartment of his that he didn't even have room for furniture because he was stacking boxes of shoes, and then now what it's become,
Yeah.
absolutely incredible story.
Oh,
And
great.
then not a far drive for you. We need an homage field trip, road trip to a Bills game. Play the Browns at home in a few weeks, but
Oh,
an homage field trip to Buffalo. There's a restaurant. One of my favorite places ever is called Elio DiPaolo's. So Elio
I know.
DiPaolo.
Okay, I
Okay,
do. Okay, we're gonna go on a little bit of a tangent here. So I know Elio DePaulo's, and I went there one time a few years ago, and I was like, "It's so cool." I know I cut you off, but if you want to explain the restaurant, Eric, he was a wrestler way back in probably like the 50s or 60s, and it's from Buffalo.
yeah. So he's originally from Italy. He settled down in Buffalo because he thought it was fairly central to wherever they were driving to on the road for all their shows. He
Yep.
has an incredible story. We should get someone from his family on here sometime to explain the entire story because it's fascinating. You know, wrestling is essentially fake, and he spoke very, I say essentially fake. There's a lot of contact in it.
Yep.
And he was he spoke broken English, and he could tell that they were messing with him and picking on him, and they didn't think he knew any English. And so one night he goes in the ring, he beats the crap out of two guys, like legitimately beats the crap out of two guys. Well, then he
Yeah.
becomes a fan favorite. They can't kick him off, and he just builds into this incredible wrestler. But they have so much awesome memorabilia. You will absolutely love it. The owner and his son are both the two owners. Now it's Elio's son and grandson are just amazing people, two of my closest friends. So we'll have
Great.
to do
Yeah.
that together.
Definitely. Yeah.
Are you a man of faith?
You know, I was my parents, you know, were very like, you know, going to church every Sunday. They still do. And I'm, you know, I would say that, yeah, like I am. They have raised me like their values in so many ways, not just faith, but like how to treat people. You know, I use them so much as a moral compass, and they have just been incredible people and have raised, I think, a decent son. And a lot of those values I feel like were, you know, passed down from generations. I mean, uh from living generations in the same area, same little like, you know, community. And I bring a lot of that into my work and in my life for sure.
Good deal. What's your favorite restaurant?
Oh gosh, favorite restaurant, chain or just any old restaurant?
Any.
Oh, favorite restaurant. Well, I will say a place, since we were talking kind of about like local places back home in Bellevue, Ohio, where I'm from. For shout out to anybody from Bellevue listening to this. It's an incredible pizza place that whenever I go home, it's called Pizza Wheel. And that's like the number one place that I've got to get something from if I'm ever back in town. Just great pizza.
Are you a Skyline Chili fan?
I am. I definitely am a Skyline Chili fan. There's a guy, Mark Jaworski, who is our director of marketing operations. Whenever he's in the office, I feel like in clockwork, I know that we're going to go to Skyline. So if I'm ever working alongside him, it's just like, you want to go to lunch? Sure. Where are we going to go? We're going to go to Skyline.
Yeah, so it's amazing. I live in Louisville, Kentucky. We have a few Skyline restaurants here, but when I'm back in Cincinnati, I have to go to Skyline, but we rarely get it in Louisville. I don't know. It's just not the same when I'm not in Cincinnati.
Right. Yeah, it just feels right. Because I thought at first you were going to ask if I'm a Gold Star person or a Skyline. I thought it was going to be like, hey, do you like Gold Star?
I just
Yeah.
assume everyone's Skyline over
Right.
Gold
Yeah.
Star.
Yeah. Right.
All right, last one for me. This is What's Next with Eric Wood. What's next for Justin Nottke?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. You know, in terms of, you know, the roles and responsibilities that I'm doing here, it's a lot of the creative work in the marketing side when you're seeing the things in social media, or if you're subscribed to Homage emails or on the website. And so I think what's next is, you know, getting deeper into social media and how that's changing, what we can do to stay ahead of the game. A lot of it is video. A lot of it is, you know, multimedia pieces. And like, I just keep seeing more and more like younger people that are more in tune with technology and how easy it is for them to create things, post things. And so trying to stay up to speed and staying ahead of trends and things like that and making weird stuff. That's always one of my favorite things. How can we make weird things here? So that's what's next, making things weird and cool here at Homage.
Well, that'll catch the eyeballs. That'll get this company continuing to grow. So, Justin, I appreciate your time. This has been a company that I was fascinated by from the very start, and I appreciate you representing Homage and coming on here. I am proud to be an affiliate of yours now. I will be rocking these tees in many appearances. For those out there that want to purchase one, you can use my link that's in the show notes, and there will be discounts and everything through that link that you will get passed on to you. So check out all their gear. It's everything from pop culture to all the major sports teams. You will enjoy it. You will love it. And the quality is great. And I'll say this, I've never pushed or represented a product that I don't personally use or represent or just are truly behind. I never would. It's not worth it to me. And so this is a company that I am truly behind. I appreciate what they're all about. Justin, thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. This was great and glad to have you on Team Homage. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Can't wait for Elios with you.